There's just so much opportunity for agents who want to operate in Chicago working with Medicare Advantage. Like, you got to get after it there.
Right, and that's not even really looking at the dual SNP population, some of those subcategories of that it's, it's a really good opportunity because, I mean, that, and I look at that versus national rate too, that extra 5%, that's a gap that can be filled, that's going to be filled over the next, couple of years, so why not be the agent who's doing that?
Good morning, insurance agents of the senior market. Welcome back to Near and Far. It is Wednesday, March 3rd. The feeling of spring is going through my veins, and there is nothing that could be more fun than the thought of walking around downtown Chicago on a nice spring morning. What does that sound appealing to you, Rob?
Oh yeah, sounds great to me. Get outside, get some sun, get some pizza.
Yeah, you know what? When I think about March, I think about spring, and I think about St. Patrick's Day,
Yep.
And I think one of the coolest things is watching shots of the city of Chicago when they dye the river green.
Oh yeah,
for that incredible parade that they typically have. I don't know that they'd be having it this year with COVID, but Chicago's a great town. Have you ever spent time there?
My wife's dad lived there for a while, but I never managed to get out. Every time it was always during AEP that she was going out, and I never had a chance to get down there. So soon. That's the plan, right?
Well, yeah, no question. One of my favorite spots in Chicago, which is we're going to talk a lot about Chicago today, is this comedy club called Zanies. Okay. And I went there. I was in town one time, and we ended up at this club. And it was really cool. Like, I was walking kind of back through this crowded space on my way to the bathroom, and I looked at their picture. I was like, oh, there's Jay Leno. Oh, there's Jerry Seinfeld. Like, there's all these like famous comedians who had played there. It's a really cool place. So when you get out to Chicago, give Zanies a try. Hopefully it's still there. Like, I obviously with COVID, it might have really impacted their business, but hopefully they're still alive and kicking.
I'll keep my eye out. That's for sure.
Yeah. So you and I had talked yesterday when we were like, hey, let's get together and do a Near and Far episode tomorrow morning. And I had said, hey, where's your team been really active? Where are you guys talking to a lot of agents? Where's product really moving? And Chicago was the first one out of your mouth.
Absolutely. We've been doing a lot of work in Chicago. It's interesting. It's an interesting town because I feel like their folks are a lot like our folks. When you call into different areas, you always have that kind of personality type. But, when we've been reaching out, I could see it on the marketers' faces. Everybody is like, so much calmer, so much happier, talking to just some nice and down-to-earth folks.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the reasons why I love Chicago when I'm there, is it just feels like a bigger version of Pittsburgh. Like, really great Midwestern town, lots to do. They're just a little bit bigger than we are, but here's the interesting thing about Chicago. Chicago used to be the example that we would talk about with a market with incredibly low Medicare Advantage penetration. Like, that used to be like we would talk about, like, hey, it's not necessarily the size of the city. It's like, how many MA members do they have there to determine, is it a good market? And that's where, like, I use this analogy a lot where, I'll say, hey, would you rather, try to get a Miller Lite drinker to drink Bud Light or to get a milk drinker to drink Bud Light? Thinking, hey, if you go to a market where there's a lot of Medicare Advantage members, you're just trying to get them to move from, Aetna to United or United to Humana or Humana to Blue Cross. Like, it's far easier to do that than convince people who aren't fans of Medicare Advantage to do it. But Chicago was the milk drinker example for a long period of time.
Oh yeah, but it seems like we're starting to get them to drink some beer now. Yeah. MA penetration rates up to above 35%.
Which is crazy, because I can remember when talking about Chicago, like maybe 5-6 years ago, it was like in the 10s, like 10, 11, 12%.
Yeah, so and that growth, I mean, when you see that on the rise, with the Medicare Advantage rate or penetration rate advancing, that opens the door for better plan benefits and things like that make the plans more attractive. So it's one of those things that increases so exponentially.
Yeah. Well, and even when their penetration rate was in that 10 to 15 range, they've got like 830,000 Medicare eligibles in that market. So, like, it was still a market where a lot of us were trying to find agents and find consumers. But when you're talking about 35% MA penetration at a market over 800,000. That's crazy time. There's just so much opportunity for agents who want to operate in Chicago working with Medicare Advantage. You got to get after it there.
Right, and that's not even really looking at the dual SNP population, some of those subcategories of that it's it's a really good opportunity because and I look at that versus the national rate too, that extra 5%. That's a gap. That's a gap that can be filled. That's going to be filled over the next couple of years. So why not be the agent who's doing that?
I think that they should be. That's why we're talking about Chicago. So, there are over 50 different Medicare Advantage plans in Chicago. Mm-hmm. But when we're talking about the carriers that are really getting it done there right now, who's hot? Who's really getting after it?
So one of the biggest players right now is going to be Humana. They're really killing it with their HMO product. Also see United. We have Aetna operating in that same space. But if you go down the list, and again, this is how I compare to Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh's a unique market in Western Pennsylvania as a whole, because you could if someone doesn't have really complex drug issues or really complex doctor issues, you could pretty much pull out any plan and it's going to be okay for that person. When you go into that same Chicago market, you have that same type of atmosphere where there's stackable plans that are really, really good across the board. Now, of course, you're going to have your highlights. Like I said, that Humana plan's killing it out there.
Don't give it all away at once. Hold on, we're gonna get to talking about each one of these carriers and what makes them great. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you what's interesting is that when we used to think about Chicago and why Medicare Advantage wasn't as broadly utilized with consumers, we would talk through the fact that there were so many different health systems, mm-hmm. and you look at the MA companies, it's like, oh, okay, well, out of the big 7 or 8 systems, okay, you got 2. And then here's this next carrier that didn't have those 2 but have 2 others. And okay, that's I think what made it so difficult. But right. When you look at United, Aetna, and Humana from a provider standpoint, they have much broader provider networks now than maybe 4 to 6 years ago. And I think that's what's really been a big reason why we've seen that MA penetration number go from the 10 to 15 range up into 35.
Oh, absolutely. And, it's one of those things that, the network is the contingent portion of an HMO. I mean, that's if you don't have the network, your HMO is going to stink.
Yeah, well, or you could get a PPO with a crazy national board. Oh, this is me giving stuff away. Yeah. All right. So I'm now doing what I just said. Rob, don't do it. Don't give it away. All right, so let's talk about Humana first, because, in terms of looking at what they did during AEP, I think they had a really solid January 1st enrollment season. Why did Humana do so well for 1/1?
So really, it has to do, kind of loops back on what we're talking about. As far as HMO goes, you need a good network. They have almost every hospital system in the area. They have tons of local docs. So that's really the backbone of the plan.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Humana has what, everybody but Mount Sinai?
Right.
Okay, all right, that's what I thought.
Even though they do have some of the physicians that have admitted privileges in there. But really the other portion of it, if you have the great network, what you need are great line item benefits. And they've really slammed that home with, $0 premium. What is it? It's $26.50 for the maximum out of pocket,
which is a crazy number. I mean, their out of pocket number on a 0 premium HMO with 0 PCP with $25 specialist, and I think they've got a pretty good over the counter benefit on that plan.
They're giving people $120 a quarter.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But yeah, I mean, you're rolling into a market at $26.50 on the out of pocket maximum. I mean, that's pretty nuts. The only thing that I would be concerned about, and I'm not saying that this is a concern, is I always get a little nervous when you've got a plan that's far under the competition on the MOOP, because it's okay, are they going to get all of the bad risk and then, maybe it happened, maybe it doesn't. I just know that's something that typically made me twitchy, but their product for 21 is really kicking tail.
Oh yeah, and like that's best in class when it comes to maximum out-of-pocket, and that's something that a consumer who might be switching from Med Sup looking to get onto an MA for the first time, that's going to be something that stands out to them. If you're sitting at your maximum out-of-pocket's close to what you're paying in Med Sup premium, where you're guaranteed dollars versus your what-if dollars, and they're the same.
Time to go.
Yeah, you're taking the what-if dollars because that's all you're out.
Yeah. Well, and I would say, though, that, there may be a lot of consumers that aren't really feeling like HMOs for them.
Right.
And that's, I think when we look at Chicago overall, you've got a lot of really strong PPO right now. UnitedHealthcare, I think, is one of those in terms of their PPO. The agents that you're talking to, why is United selling for them?
One of the things that is one of the big gaps is the UnitedHealthcare national network. Live in Chicago, gets cold in the winter. Some of your senior folks aren't going to want to stick around to deal with the snow and all that
bitter cold in the windy city.
Yes.
Yep.
So maybe they kick it down to Florida or South Carolina or something like that. With the United National Network, you're there. You call number on the back of your card. Hey, I need a dermatologist, and you're still in.
Yeah, and that's what I wondered. Like when I saw the UnitedHealthcare product for 21 in Chicago, I'm thinking, okay, we've got a low premium PPO. It's not a zero, but it's a lower premium PPO with a national network with really strong copays. Is that a no-brainer, or is it just that the Humana product with their line items is so strong that it gives the people that moment of pause of like, well, yeah, I really want PPO and national network, but man, look at these line items Humana's bringing to the table.
And there are other PPO, there are $0 PPOs in the market that are available, but I think people see that value, and again, comparing our two areas geographically and mindset-wise, is people like to buy up. If I have, a $0 plan and I have like a sub $60 plan, it's in my mind, I perceive that $60 as a little bit more value, whether it's you see it in every single line item or it's just, that feeling you get in your gut.
Well, it's sort of like when you go to Dick's Sporting Goods and you're looking to buy tennis shoes. It's like, do I really want to spend $30 more for Nike?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I see the Nike swoosh everywhere, so I feel like this is a better shoe. It'll make me a little faster.
Yeah.
As I'm sprinting to my car to try to go and get the takeout that I ordered, it's like, oh man, I'm going to be late. So I'm not necessarily worried about my athletic performance anymore, or my 40 time, but yeah, I think that branding has a part of that if you look at UnitedHealthcare and you're just saying to yourself, oh, I can get this UnitedHealthcare PPO at 38, that may do more for you than a carrier maybe you're not as familiar with.
Oh, absolutely. A brand goes a long way.
Yeah, for sure. So Aetna has also done pretty well in this market over the course of the last couple years, and Aetna is also, of the three carriers we're talking about, they're the only one that has pretty much all of the health systems. Like they've got Northwestern, Rush, U of Chicago, Loyola, Advocate, North Shore, Mount Sinai. Like Aetna has them all. Where Humana's missing Mount Sinai, UnitedHealthcare is missing Rush and University of Chicago. But Aetna, they got them all. So beyond that broadness of their network, why else is Aetna doing well with that PPO product that is kind of their flagship product for 21?
Right. So they really have. They're doing really well in line item benefits because, when I sit down and I look at the market analytics, and this is something we taught. I think you taught me a long time ago. It's don't ever sit down and compare an HMO to a PPO on line item benefits because usually they don't stack up. That PPO is going to seem weaker no matter what because you have the freedom of the PPO.
Yeah.
But we're starting to see some of these PPO products are really starting to dig at that HMO side. It was years ago, and I had never seen a $0 PPO. When that came out in the market, I was like, this is going to be the best plan ever.
Whoa, $0 PPO. Yeah. And you're right. Now we are seeing them much more commonly.
Right. So seeing that those benefit levels approach that HMO, I think it's really been a big factor in it. Plus you got brand, plus you have the CVS combination, plus with all their plans on, going to CVS to see your doctor, getting your prescriptions filled there and having that whole clinical model that's, from top to bottom. People dig that. People like it. They see value in that. And if you have a CVS on every corner, it's that much more prevalent in your life. And then they have access to national network too. You know, if you're in Aetna, you're in Aetna. You can kind of get around where you want to go.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I had a conversation with a broker the other day who was talking to me about the difference in national network, and you know, they were saying to me, oh well, you know, each of these plans has national network, and the point I made was, I said, okay, one thing to look at is where is their MA product, because if you have national network and you're in 25 states versus a company that has national network and is in 50 states,
right,
that's a difference. You know, but beyond that, it's like, okay, if you're in Chicago, all right, are you concerned about whether or not there is national network coverage in Wyoming or Montana or South Dakota?
Right.
Probably not. It's like you'd say, okay, well, where am I likely to go where I need non-emergency care? Because that's always been my thing with PPO is I find that some clients are so hyper-focused on PPO, but it's like they're not going to go somewhere for enough of an extended period of time where they're going to seek non-emergency care.
Right.
So in all MA plans, whether they're HMO, PPO, point of service, they all cover non-emergency care, or they cover emergency care.
Non-routine.
Yeah. So where the PPO helps you is, am I going to go like live somewhere for 3 to 4 months?
Yeah.
So, and if that's the case, you're probably not going from Chicago to South Dakota. Like, no offense to our friends in South Dakota, but that's not like the snowbird destination. Like, you got a lot of cool stuff there, but you know, if you're in Chicago, where are you thinking? You're going to go to Florida, you're going to go to North Carolina, you're going to Arizona. Like, you know, you're going to go to those types of places. Arizona's beautiful, by the way. I was just there in January. Holy man. Like, if you ever get a chance to go to Scottsdale, Arizona, like if you like to hike, you like to do all sorts of outdoor stuff, it's awesome. But again, I'm digressing here, which I do sometimes. But that's the point. Like, you know, national network is great, but sometimes it's a question of, okay, well, where is it you think you might be going?
Right. Exactly.
And try to match it up that way.
Right. And different carriers are going to have those different spots. I mean, like we look at, you know, our local example, Highmark, you know, they have the Blue Share network, but they're all the spots that you said. They're where Pittsburghers go. It's North Carolina, Florida, Arizona, same thing. And they're not as concerned in a lot of the rest of the country.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so, I mean, if, again, let's say that I'm an agent, you called me, I'm in Chicago, and, you know, I'm doing Medicare Supplement business right now, and you're trying to say, hey, Bill, you need to do Medicare Advantage with Neishloss and Fleming. How are you selling me?
Well, I'm probably going to start with the HMO product, the Humana HMO product, and I'm going to go dollars to donuts on premium to max out of pocket. Is because someone who's working with SUP is going to usually be financially focused, and that's a lot of times where I want to start that conversation.
Yep.
And you know, $26.50 when you're really looking at, you know, that's the cost of a SUP and a PDP for someone who's 68 to 70, and you know, again, we're talking. And I always use those terms, the what if dollars versus the guaranteed dollars, because you know it's not just perceived savings, because very few people ever hit a move. I mean, it's never really it's not as consequential as folks might think.
Well, I'd agree with you on that. I mean, there are various points in time that you see statistics about what percentage of people hit the out-of-pocket maximum, and in almost every case, it's someone who's on a co-insurance like item where they're really racking it up, like Part B meds, therapeutic radiology, like those types of items where you can really go and build costs on a percentage basis. But
it is one thing that a client sees and their jaw drops every time. Yeah. They'll see it every time as you're going through. Oh, what's this number?
Because they think it's cost expectation.
Right. Exactly.
And that's like for the last like 15 plus years, like anytime we talk about MA stuff, it still amazes me. There are clients who are like, oh, well, that's what I'm going to spend. No, that's the most you can spend.
Right.
And to your point about looking at MedSup and PDP, you know, if I'm your MedSup agent in Chicago, you're trying to get right MA. So if you have a MedSup at $150 per month, that's $1,800 over the course of the year.
Right.
Okay. Then if you add in a $30 PDP, okay, there's another $360. I'm already at $2,160. I'm locked in for that.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. And on the zero premium Humana product that you're talking about, like the out-of-pocket max is $2,650. Like with the Med Sup and the PDP, which is fairly reasonably priced at $150 a month. You're only $500 away from that cap. Like you've got so much room that you could save.
Exactly.
Even if those are your price points.
Exactly. And again, it's unlikely that you're really going to hit that. But that's where I'd start with a recruiting call or a kind of sales call to a sub agent because that's a win.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with you. Like that would probably be a good entry point. But yeah, there's so much good Medicare Advantage stuff going on in Chicago right now. It's great to see that you guys are super engaged there.
That's it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, hey, thanks for jumping in with me this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you said to me last night. It's like, oh, it's been a while since that I've been on.
Yeah.
Like, and it's great to have you back in here.
I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. We will be back with you on Friday, March 5th at 7 a.m. This has been Rob. I'm Bill, and this has been Near and Far. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.